Are you thinking about moving to San Diego or Valley Center, but you're not sure really which city to go to? Today, we're going to be breaking down the housing, the taxes, the utilities, and the food. Which city is best for you? And how much does it really cost here in San Diego? And don't forget, we're going to even take it to the map. We're going to get after it right now. What's up, amazing people? I am LeFore here with the Mortgage List team located out of San Diego, California. And if you're looking for a channel that all they're talking about is what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego, then this is the channel for you. You definitely want to click that subscribe button and tap that little bell so you're reminded every single time we release a new video, because honestly, we do it every single week. And honestly, my team and I are getting phone calls every single day with people just like you thinking about making that move to somewhere in San Diego. Whether it's here in Valley Center or in Escondido or anywhere in San Diego County or just moving from a different state, you definitely want to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. You definitely want to reach out to us because we got your back when moving to San Diego. Now, let's get after the differences between Valley Center and San Diego on the cost of living. All right, so it doesn't take too much Googling to figure out that living in San Diego, anywhere in San Diego, is going to be expensive. Because here we pay a sunshine tax and it gets pretty expensive overall in San Diego County. So what we're going to be talking about is the differences between Valley Center and San Diego to be able to determine, which way is the best way to go. So first off, where is Valley Center? Valley Center is actually located in more of a country living. San Diego in general is actually really large. So we're going to take it to the map so that way you can see the differences amongst those two. Okay, so here we are in San Diego. And in San Diego, as you can see, it is a pretty large city. We have over 1.5 million people that live just in San Diego, not including San Diego County. San Diego County has over 3 million people in San Diego County. So here we are in Valley Center. Remember what I said? Valley Center is under 20,000. Last time I checked, it was actually under about 12,000 people in the population. Valley Center is more of a rural country type of living. It's not going to have a lot of the, shops, Starbucks, Ralph's, Vons, things like that. There is definitely a lot of up and coming new construction that's going to be coming up, and that's actually in place right now, right when you get off the grade. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that more in future videos about that new construction that's happening in Valley Center. But when you compare the two different cities, as you can clearly see, they are a bit different. Valley Center, you have, under 12,000 people, so you have more of land that you're going to be getting from Valley Center. And then you look at San Diego, and then San Diego is just in general a really large city. All right, so let's talk about really kind of where it is in general when it comes to Valley Center. So you want to look at where Valley Center is actually located. Valley Center in general is located both off the 78 and off the 15. So you'll notice the 15 freeway right over here, and then the 78 freeway right over here. The 78 freeway will actually take you over to San Marcos, over to Vista, right over here, and then all the way to the freeway to Carlsbad. That'll take you also to Oceanside, which is all the way down here on the 5. That'll take you all the way up north to Los Angeles, all the way up here. Okay, so when we look at Valley Center, you want to be able to know that it's not going to be something that you can just get into Valley Center within just a couple minutes, 10, 15 minutes, okay? Because just to get up here in this area, it's going to be a little bit of a drive. As we zoom in here, you're going to see that you got to come off the 78, which is right here, over to, you can either take East Washington or really just kind of take East Lincoln down. And then as you take East Lincoln, you're going to come all the way over here and then come up here and take it to Valley Center. So when you're really looking in, this drive just alone here from taking it from the 78 freeway that comes down this way, if you're coming from either San Marcos or Oceanside, you're going to take the 78 past the 15 and just take it in. You'll notice that the 78 freeway does actually end right over here. And then you can again take that East Lincoln all the way down, make that right on El Norte right over here, and then you'll make a left on here on Valley Parkway. Okay, then you'll notice that it's going to take this Valley Center Road all the way up to the top, which is how we're going to get to, again, Valley Center to the top. That's actually how you truly get to Valley Center. So you want to just know that when it comes to getting to Valley Center, it's going to take you a little bit longer. Just from the 78 freeway to get to the top of the grade is going to be about 25 minutes just from that direction. So now let's take a look of San Diego, where that is in conjunction. Okay, so as you can clearly see, San Diego is a bit larger. So San Diego truly covers a lot of area when you look at San Diego specifically. So you have Scripps Ranch, Miramar, Mira Mesa. Some of these that you'll notice here, like Rancho Penasquitos, these are not actually cities. They have different zip codes all throughout this area for San Diego. These are more so communities that you're going to be looking at. And when you go all the way down Kearny Mesa, Pacific Beach, La Jolla, of course, is its own city, coming down all the way down here. All of this area is all San Diego in general. So you want to be able to know that when you look at San Diego, you're going to notice that the city, again, is pretty large. So it's going to cover a really big area. So whereas Valley Center, you're going to have more land, San Diego overall, you're going to not probably have that extra acre, 2, 3, 4, 5 acres. It's not going to be as common in San Diego as it is going to be in Valley Center. So let's take a look in comparison to the county. Remember what I said, at the county level, you're looking at about 3+ million people, whereas in San Diego City, you're looking at about 1.5 million. So when we compare it to the county of San Diego, you will again notice that it's a bit different when it comes to the amount of area that you're going to be possibly looking at when it comes to purchasing that new home. So another couple of differences that you're going to find in San Diego versus Valley Center. A lot of my clients are actually moving to Valley Center just because they end up using our financing for USDA, which means that they get 100% financing and they don't have a requirement for the down payment. Honestly, that is one of the reasons why a lot of my clients are moving to Valley Center, not just because of the land, but also because they don't have to have a down payment. Okay, so we've been talking about the differences between Valley Center and San Diego. We've looked at the map. We've kind of figured out where they are in relation to the San Diego County. Now let's take a look at the home prices to see the differences between Valley Center and San Diego, because they're definitely different. Okay, so the average home price in San Diego right now is at $645,300. In comparison to Valley Center, where honestly it has dramatically gone up in the last year since 2019. Where originally it was at $611,600, at the end of December 2019, it has gone up to $702,500. And then based off my last search that I was looking at in Valley Center, we were looking at home prices in the ranging about $834,000. When we were looking at home prices in Valley Center, you're going to notice that there is going to be about right now 25 homes that are currently for sale. And they're ranging in price between $504,000 up to about $3.5 million, with one at $7 million. So yeah, there are pretty sporadic in difference. You will definitely find though that when it comes to Valley Center, you're going to end up finding a lot more land along with your home. It's not going to be more of a cul-de-sac type of living that you're going to be looking at when it comes to Valley Center. You're going to find that you have like half an acre, even sometimes even multiple acres and groves with avocados or things like that. Or even, a farm, things like that are what are typically sold when it comes to Valley Center area. Of course, there is actually new construction that's happening right now in Valley Center, which we'll definitely be doing some future videos about that new construction. But then overall in San Diego, you're looking at home prices for about $645,300, which is definitely a dramatic difference between $834,000. So we were just talking about 25 homes for sale in Valley Center. Well, in San Diego, as of today, there is 1,472 homes for sale. So that is definitely, like I said, very, very big difference. And then you look at San Diego. So San Diego has increased in prices. So remember what we said at $645,300. Over the last year, prices are now up to about $690,000, almost 8.7% an increase over the last year, even after and during the pandemic. So depending on where you want to live, whether it's Valley Center or San Diego, you're going to end up finding that the cost of living is going to be a bit more expensive in Valley Center. And I'm talking like 10% more expensive in Valley Center overall in comparison to California. And then we talk about the national average, and then you're at 59.1% more expensive than the national average. Okay, so now let's talk about renting. Let's say you're not ready to buy right now, and you're thinking about still making the move here to San Diego, and you want to rent for a little bit. So when it looks at renting in San Diego, you're going to be finding that about 48.5% of people are renting in San Diego. In Valley Center, that is not the case. You're going to find more like 11.1% of people that live in Valley Center are actually renting. The majority of the time, they are actually living and owning in Valley Center, which is very different than San Diego. Now looking at the cost per month, if you're thinking about renting, whether it's in Valley Center or in San Diego, you want to see the differences for 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms. In San Diego, you're going to be looking at a 3-bedroom at $3,019. And then you're thinking about a 4-bedroom. Well, a 4-bedroom in San Diego is going to be a bit more expensive at $3,701. That's dramatically different than Valley Center. So in general, in Valley Center, it's actually going to be less cost to actually rent. So in Valley Center, you're going to be looking at a 3-bedroom at $2,180. And then you're going to be looking at a 4-bedroom at $2,670 for the 4-bedroom. The rent aspect, whether it's Valley Center or San Diego, Valley Center is definitely going to be less expensive, even though the cost of living for a house is more expensive in Valley Center, as we talked about, because the new home prices right now in Valley Center are at $845,000, where in San Diego, they're at $690,000. Okay, so on to number 2, and that's going to be utilities. All right, so utilities is pretty kind of up in the air when it comes to like where your cost of living is, where you're actually going to be living specifically, and really how much do you actually use, your gas, your electric, the water, do you need an extra garbage can, things like that. That's really going to be where that extra expense comes in. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of me as to where my cost of living is when it comes to the gas, electric, water, the utilities overall. So in general, you're going to be finding for myself is that the gas and electric is going to be right now with solar. It's going to kind of wipe it all out. Therefore, the solar that you have on top of your roof ends up kind of clearing out the entire bill from San Diego Gas and Electric. With that being said, you still have to pay like your regular monthly fee, which is $11 a month for the regular maintenance. And then of course, you still have the gas that you have to be able to pay out. So on an average, when you don't have solar and it's not wiping out your entire bill, you're going to find that in general, it's going to be about $200 to $300 when it comes to your utilities for SDG&E. And of course, SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, is going to cover both San Diego and Valley Center. Then you have your, water and garbage. That's going to be specific to the city as to who's actually taking care of that. So in general, you're going to end up finding that it's about $100 to $150. So that in general, both of those numbers are a pretty big difference, about that $50 range. And the only reason why I say that is because for myself and my family, we do actually end up having like extra garbage cans. We have a pool in the backyard. And so all of that stuff ends up costing you a little bit more money. If you don't use the AC very much, if you don't use a heater very much, you don't got a pool in the backyard, those things are going to be what's going to drop down your bill. So you're not going to be looking at SDG&E at closer to that $300. You're going to be more like my mom, where her bill is more like $90 for SDG&E, and then her water and trash bill for the city is going to be closer to like $40 and $70. So it really kind of gives you that dramatic difference. So that way you can see as to how much utilities, how much electricity you're actually going to use will obviously increase your bill. The good thing about this is that SDG&E does this equal pay plan. So that way you can actually kind of balance out your bills. So before I had solar, before I actually had the pool in the backyard, we were still up and down. And because a lot of the time I'm working from home, and then we use a lot of utilities overall. And this was like 3-5 years ago. So my bills were skyrocketing. I'm talking like $300 to like $700, $800. And then you're talking about like June, July, and August in our prime hot months here in San Diego County. And then at that point, it really was getting up to that $700. So one thing I would definitely recommend that you do when you do come here to live in San Diego is that you want to make sure that you get that balancing out plan. What they end up doing is that they grab the last 6 months average of your bill, and then they give you that same amount and they divide it by 6. And then that's what your new payment is for the following 6 months. And then after those 6 months, they do a re-review and they do it all over again for the next 6 months. Honestly, that was kind of a lifesaver, because you go from just having a bill at $200 to a bill at $700 just because you go from May and then all the way to June. And the difference in temperature in San Diego County is pretty massive just between those 2 months. And so you want to make sure that you have that set up when you do move here to San Diego. And before I forget, you want to make sure that you're investigating the details about your solar before you buy it, and before you buy the home that comes along with that solar. So why do I say that? In some cases, solar does not cover your entire bill. I've had a lot of friends that they have gotten solar and they did not overbuild their solar, meaning that they were anticipating that they were going to use it this exact same amount that they've been using it for the last 12 months. And that's typically how solar is sold. They do an average for the last 12 months, and then they say, okay, that's what you should get for your solar that's going to be put on your roof based off of that. But we already know that once we have solar on our roof, we're going to extra turn stuff on. And so because we're turning stuff on and using the gas and using our heater, using the AC, turning on the pool, all of that extra stuff, it's going to dramatically increase that electricity. And you know what? Right now, where we overbuilt our solar and we're in this pandemic, My kids are literally doing all of their schoolwork from home. So the amount of electricity that's being used right now, we're not even being able to cover it anymore. That used to be covered, pre-pandemic, and when we were overbuilt. Now the girls, they're actually doing their schoolwork here at the house. They're using so much electricity that now we're going to have to add additional solar panels to wipe out that bill because it's not getting wiped out anymore. So you want to make sure that you're doing your extra homework. Also want to make sure that if you're going to take on a leased solar, that it actually does going to work for you. So there's a lot in there. We'll talk about that on another day, but I just want to make sure that you grab that information and that you really utilize it when you're thinking about buying your next home. Okay, so now on to number 3, and that's transportation. Look, we're here in San Diego County, and honestly, over 80% of us are using cars, and we have cars. So we're honestly not going to be walking in San Diego overall, that we just talked about 3 million people in San Diego County, 1.5 million in San Diego. We're not going to be walking from one side of San Diego to the other side of San Diego. You're going to be hopping in your car and then getting to the other side. That same thing applies to Valley Center. Remember what I said, and remember what I was talking about earlier on the map, and I was showing you where Valley Center is in conjunction to the 78 and the 15 freeway. So if you're trying to get out of Valley Center, you're going to have to go down the hill to be able to get just into Escondido, and then you're going to take another about 10 to 15 minutes to get to the 78 or the 15 freeway. So just that alone, to be able to get to work, let's say you work somewhere off of the 15, whether it's in Carl Mountain or Rancho Bernardo, or you got to go down the 78, and then because you work in San Marcos or you work in Oceanside, it's going to take you a little bit just to get there. So you want to make sure, one, you have an economical car. And if you don't have an economical car and you have a Yukon like me, you just got to be aware that gas is going to be very expensive. Gas in general, when it comes to Valley Center, there's only 3 gas stations in Valley Center. And gas in general, because they only have 3 gas stations in Valley Center, is honestly a lot more expensive. You're looking at over $4, at $4.09 just for Valley Center gas. But when you come down the hill and you get to the first gas station, of course, that's also going to be expensive because it's the first one off the hill. But it's a lot less expensive than it is in Valley Center. And that's going to be about $3.59. In general, gas for San Diego County, you're going to be looking at about $2.89 up to about $3.59. Like I said before, when you look at Valley Center, you're going to pay a premium because there's only 3 of them in Valley Center. Whereas obviously in San Diego, we have such a large population, we're going to have a whole bunch of gas stations, pretty much one on every other corner, if not every corner, depending on where you are in the city. So you want to make sure that you have that ready for you. Of course, you still have Uber and Lyft, and of course you can take like regular transportation, like the bus, or you can take a trolley from downtown San Diego all the way in to be able to go to the games when we're finally going to be able to go right now. So things like that, what gives you another opportunity just to see that, of course, definitely you're going to need a car, but kind of give you the more hindsight that for myself, I end up spending about $75 to $90 a week when it comes to gas. Right now, obviously my girls are not going to school because we're still in the pandemic. And when we do go back to school, we'll have everything in full force, and then we will definitely be spending the $90 to fill up my Yukon to be able to run just a regular week. Right now, we're talking about those $90 are kind of running about 2 or 3 weeks. So it's just something that, definitely you want to be aware of. All right, so on to number 4, and that's cost of food. So this is really going to just depend as to really your family. How much do you go out to eat? For us and our family, honestly, we go out to eat typically like once or twice a week. Usually it's going to be Friday for pizza for family fun night, and then typically one day when it comes to either Saturday or Sunday, typically after our softball games, and then we're going to be going to go get something to eat at that point. But honestly, cost of food overall, you're looking at about $15 per person. Okay, so we have myself, my husband, my 2 girls. So overall, just on the basis right there, you're going to be looking at about $60. I can assure you, I do not get out of a restaurant with $60 because, of course, there's always the beverages, and then there's the strawberry lemonade for my girls, and let's not forget about the appetizers, and then let's not forget about the dessert. So, I mean, honestly, overall, you could technically get out of your regular budget and then go out to about $100 to $120. And then if you're going to sushi, I mean, you're going to get closer to that $200 bracket. Overall, you want to just kind of realize that in general, cost of food is about $15 per person when it comes to just eating. Of course, when you look at some of the taco shops, that's going to be a bit less expensive. You're going to be looking at closer to about $8 to $10 for cost of food when it comes to like the smaller shops in general. Sit downs, you're going to be looking at closer to like $15 to $20. So average right about that $15. So just something to be aware of. You definitely want to, of course, go out to eat, enjoy San Diego when you're here and you're living and you're moving here to San Diego. However, there's also, we're in San Diego, so we have all the fresh farm vegetables and fruit that's also grown here. Our avocados are grown here in California. So in general, you're going to end up finding a lot of farm markets. Farm markets are actually something that are done, in Valley Center all the time, done in Escondido, and they're done all throughout San Diego. So if you're looking for like organic, that is definitely another option versus going to Jimbo's or going to Sprouts. Those are also located in Escondido and over in San Diego. Just giving you a couple of different options that you don't always have to go out to eat. Of course, we have some amazing food spots. Definitely want to check up Yelp because that's, honestly how we find places to be able to go to eat. But you want to be able to kind of look at your different options when it comes to eating. Okay, so now on to everybody's favorite topic, taxes. Number 5. All right, so on to taxes. You're going to find that in general, obviously, San Diego is very expensive. We're in California, so we have that sunshine tax. You're going to be looking at San Diego as the sales tax of 7.8%, where the U.S. average is at 7.3%. And then in comparison to the income tax, where we are at a whopping 9.3%. And then the national average is at 4.6%. So clearly we are a bit more expensive in general to live here in San Diego. Now, when it comes to property taxes in general, you're going to be setting yourself up to about 1.25%. That's going to be set up into your escrow account. You will hear some people tell you that you can range anywhere between 1.02 up to about 1.25. The reason why I like to go based off the 1.25% is that the majority of time, your mortgage is actually going to be set up at that 1.25%. And the reason for that is that in essence, that you were to have a shortage of your escrow account. So we're setting up those monies to be able to pay out the taxes when they're due, or let's say the insurance as well. You want to make sure you have that extra buffer that you want to make sure to have in your escrow account. Property taxes in general, you can't really specifically assume them down to the dollar. And then depending on whether maybe you're not even going to be paying the property taxes, let's say that you don't have to pay taxes because you're going to end up being one of my veterans that have 100% disability. Well, then at that point, then the taxes that you're getting set up, you'll end up getting refunded later. The other detail is that if you're transferring your taxes from one house to the new house that you're buying, then maybe you have a lower tax rating. So yes, you will be setting up yourself at a 1.25, but then maybe like 3 or 6 months later, that's going to get readjusted. You'll get refunds for those taxes, and then the taxes will literally end up being at 0, or they will end up being just a lot lower. In general, you're going to definitely be looking at about 1.25% on average from that 1.02%, depending on the city, the area that you're looking at. The other detail that you definitely want to be aware of is that in San Diego and in Valley Center, there is things such as mello-roos and special assessments. So special assessments mean that at the point that the house was built, there was nothing there. So they had to build up the community, whether it was new schools, the road, the fire department, things like that, build up the community that was there. So when you look at, like, let's say Valley Center in that new construction, they do have a special assessment because technically it was bare land before they even started building it. So that is something that you're going to be aware of, that you may end up paying a little bit more than that 1.25%. But in conjunction to San Diego at 1.25% that you're going to be paying for taxes, that is definitely a lot lower than what we pay in Riverside County. That's anywhere between 1.7 to over 2.5% in taxes. However, homes in Riverside County, such as Menifee, Temecula, and Murrieta, you will find that the house cost is actually a lot lower than what we have here in, let's say, San Diego at $690,000, or in Valley Center at $845,300. It really just kind of depends where you want to live, how much of a commute you really want to your new job or your job that you're going to be transferring to. So you definitely want to make sure that you have enough money inside of that escrow account that's going to cover your property taxes. And that's going to be re-reviewed every single year by the lender to make sure that you have enough money. Don't forget about your supplemental taxes. Too many times am I hearing clients forget that they even have to pay them. The supplemental taxes are the difference between the current owner to you being the new owner owning that new home. And so what they're paying right now is not the same that you're going to be paying on your taxes. And so the difference between those two is going to be that supplemental tax bill. That roughly comes like 3 to 6 months after you own the home. And depending on the lender, you can send that bill to the lender to pay it out, or you'll have to pay it out by yourself. And depending on whether you have enough money in that escrow account will depend on whether they can even pay it out. So just something to be aware of when it comes to your property taxes that you definitely need to know here in San Diego. All right, amazing people. So let's talk about San Diego. San Diego, we're looking at home prices at about $645,000, moved up to about $690,000. Then we talked about Valley Center. Valley Center started at $611,000, moved up to $702,000, and now is at about $845,000. Obviously, you're going to have way more options when it comes to San Diego County or San Diego in general versus Valley Center, where we only had 25 homes. Then we were looking at San Diego, and we were looking at 1,472 homes. So obviously, that's going to be dramatic, different type of living. So when you're thinking about making that move here to San Diego, you definitely want to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. We definitely got your back when moving to San Diego. And don't forget, make sure that you click that subscribe button and tap that little bell to get reminded every single time we release a new video, because we're doing it every single week. And make sure that you check out the videos that are coming up on the screen. They're definitely going to be something that you want to see when looking at San Diego, Valley Center, and a whole bunch of other cities here on my channel. See you later.